Hi there, this is Archive Moon with Star Siren Astrology coming to you in this beautifully mystical, dreamy, creative, highly imaginative, yet humblingly sensitive, emotional full moon in Pisces. On August 26th, we have a full moon in Pisces. The moon, when she becomes full in Pisces, is like, thank God, the magic is back. Like, our eyes can be bathed with this wonder of why we're here, ecstatic connection and divinity, and being able to truly tap into these interdimensional, otherworldly realms, as well as going deep inside of the wells of our own beings. With the full moon in Pisces, it's like this psychedelic, oceanic, bubbling up of our subconscious is available to us, not only of our subconscious, but also of that collective dream realm. And so it's Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and actually Neptune is in Pisces as well, so it's very close. I believe they're 10 to 12 degrees apart. Not quite the strongest of conjunctions, yet there's this still powerful combination when the moon and Neptune come together, where our deep subconscious and unconscious being can begin to tap into these other realms of experience. This is also potentially a time where emotions can be overwhelming, where they can literally be this rising up of a tidal wave, coming from the depths of what we thought was buried and hidden from previous experiences and lovers and times of our lives that we've separated and disassociated from. I feel with all this, really deep karmic and shadow work that we've all been working with in the realms of Aquarius, with a retrograde Mars there, with the South Node there, with Black Moon Lilith there, we've all been uncovering these parts of us that have been disconnected, disassociated, and compartmentalized. And I feel this full moon in Pisces really gives us this potentially powerful yet potentially overwhelming experience of having these real deep emotions rise up to the surface, to see where is it that we've been separated from, where is it have we placed out of the realms of our conception, because Pisces is beyond the veils. So as we approach the full moon, the veils are thinning, and they're thinning into the archetypal realm of Pisces, which rules everything, which is that surrender into divine and cosmic consciousness. And with Neptune there giving us this really powerful energy of being able to connect to the furthest out planet, to the farthest stretches of our human imagination and consciousness. It's giving us this opportunity to really not only touch into the far reaches of our imagination, creativity, but also into the deep dark depths of what we're here for, of who we are, where we're going, what is actually driving us, and what are those deep emotions and parts of ourselves that we've been separated to or too afraid to bring up, because of shame, because of guilt, because of whatever shame that those emotions or those people or those events in our life triggered inside of us. Those were the reasons that we were pushing it away, that we needed to separate ourselves from that experience, potentially to transform and to break free of patterns and different areas of our life. But this is a time to draw that part back into the center of okay, 23-year-old Archive was a different person who did a lot of really damaging things, and there's a lot of healing that's been done with that. And yet I've all of a sudden been revisiting friends and thinking about them and past lovers, and really starting to remember certain times of my life, and it's another layer of that healing happening. And it's time to if we haven't shared it, if we haven't brought it up, you know, whatever way we're really like called to do that in these next weeks, especially leading up to the full moon in these next few days. It's a time of sharing those deep pains and those woundings. Like, call those people that there's unfinished, you know, triggers or karma, or those cords of attachment haven't fully been like blown through with this like light of healing and understanding. And so really opening ourselves up to like understand where that other person is, and understand our place inside of the moment. And you know, ultimately it's to draw us into more wholeness. So bring us, you know, bring that person, that 23-year-old part of me back into the wholeness of who I am. And that goes for all of us. And wherever 3 degrees in Pisces is for you, like, you can look on your chart and see 3 degrees in Pisces. It will end up in a certain house in your chart, and wherever that house is, it rules the stage that it will be unfolding on, like where it's actually coming. And with Jupiter trining Neptune in Scorpio, it's also this opportunity of like really allowing us to feel into those shameful parts, those places where we felt betrayed, those places where we felt that lack of trust, where power was misused either by us or by someone else, and that left this wounding, that left this shroud of shame, and where we hid ourselves away, where we like tucked our cards away, or we put these masks on. And it's time right now to like see like what masks of our ego, what ploys of our power and of our worthiness is actually being kept in the dungeon, protected by the chains of shame, you know. And so it's really a time of seeing like what masks are serving that true authentic expression. You know, again, it's squaring that Leo North Node, and so it's like we're really, you know, asking to be opening our heart and stepping into that expression. And we've had the sun there all month, you know, to really give us that extra fuel to be like, what am I like ready to shine here? Like, where is the fire of what I'm here to create and who I am? And is that being honored by me? Is that being honored by my work, by my partners, by my friends, by my community, like by my family, like all these things, all these roles that we find ourselves inside of society? Like, are we able to be our true selves inside of those roles? Or is it a time of like, you know, evaluating, unhooking, drawing ourselves back in? Because again, it's like the shadow of Aquarius can unhook and detach, but it can also disassociate and free and run. And so this is a time of true liberation. You know, a true liberation allows that part of you to be integrated into the whole. And so this is a really beautiful call during this full moon to see what parts of you are calling and asking to be brought back into wholeness. Like, where are the loose ends? How can you address those karmic ties, or those cords, those hooks of emotional wounding, and be able to really allow that to be brought healing by, you know, moving into more responsibility, by like becoming that container holder for yourself, you know, for these different parts of you to have these spaces to grow and evolve and to share and to really create from. And on August 23rd, we had the sun moving from Leo, moving from that sharing and that revealing of our true gifts and our essence, and that drive to like free our essence and free our voices, and our gifts to be shared in the world. And yet it's now moving into Virgo. So we have this powerful shift from fire to earth right now. This Virgo has a desire to bring mastery to that essence, to those gifts, you know, whereas Leo is just like, I'm just in the joy of it. I'm just in the radical expression of it. And Virgo is like, yeah, but how do you ground it in? How do you build on top of that? How do you become a vessel where mastery and spirit is able to like infuse inside of that? And so it's powerful with the moon being full in Pisces, which is the polarity of Virgo. You know, Pisces is that surrender to cosmic consciousness, that rapture of spirit comes in, that deep channel of like musing and creativity and worship comes with Pisces. But through Virgo is the like work, is the actually bringing it into routine. It's bringing it into structure and into daily tasks, into like, what am I doing today to connect to that, you know, divine calling that I have, like to connect to that overarching like call of service that's like pulsing in your heart. You know, it's like, what is that call and how are you actually growing on it on a daily basis? How are we bringing it into our bodies? How are we bringing this desire for mastery, this desire for alignment and connection? So Virgo brings that, you know, it's the sacred geometric priestess. You know, Virgo brings the spirit into physicality and knows like how to separate the wheat from the chaff. So it's a time of detoxing. It's a time of analyzing and allowing you to really release things that are tying up your energy, to align it with your value. And the sun is coming into Virgo and meeting this grand earth trine with Uranus and Taurus, Saturn in Capricorn, and the sun in Virgo. And so we have this powerful grand earth trine happening along with this like deep watery world of Pisces during the full moon. So like our emotional subconscious bodies, which is ruled by the moon, is like deep connection, deep service and perfection in the imperfection, and like a deep call for like intimacy and like radical transcendence, like higher octaves, like transcending from our bodies, transcending from one, you know, reality to the other, from one experience, one chapter of life to the other. And so this is a time of like releasing some of these patterns that you've been working on. And again, wherever it is in your chart will highlight where it is, you know. So in my chart, it's in the 6th house, it's in sacred work, it's how I show up in the world. So the sun being in Virgo and connecting to this grand earth trine gives us this extra ability to like time for manifestation, time for like evaluating like what we're here on earth to do. How are we creating the like home and the relationship with our bodies and the relationship with our finances and our worth and our value? Like, how is all of that aligning with our Virgo, our daily routines and our structures and our constant, you know, active service, you know, on a day-to-day basis? And this transition from the sun moving from Leo into Virgo, activating this grand earth trine, comes at this really like poignant moment, because I feel like we're all really ready to like actualize and move forward in the things that we've been working with. Yet we've had this experience this summer where we've had a lot of like planets in retrograde. We've had a very low energy as far as moving forward summer. It's been very intense emotionally with all these, you know, 3 eclipses back to back. Yeah, we've had a lot of planets in retrograde. So there's a lot of reintegration, a lot of like going backwards, a lot of reevaluation and refining happening. And Mars has been retrograde since June 26th. It's been slowing down since June 14th. And so we've had a really like powerful journey with Mars, you know, retrograde, which is like our drive to move forward and actualize in the world has been being like, okay, challenged, refine, like take a step back. And so that creates a lot of like kind of angsty, frustrated, kind of like boiling pot, sort of like wanting to keep the lid on the pot, and that force really wanting to come out. It's also being squared by Uranus, which is another planet that loves to move forward. It loves to like liberate and actualize, and again, it's that lightning bolt of energy and inspiration. And breaking free, so it likes to be free. It's in Taurus retrograde as well. We've had Saturn retrograde since mid-April in Capricorn, so that's caused a lot of us to be really reevaluating our responsibility, our like blame and shame dynamics inside of our relationships, our power dynamics inside of relationships, how we're getting our needs met financially, emotionally, through the structures of our lives, with our relationship, with our work and our family life. So again, this is a lot of hard external planets like Saturn in retrograde. I hate to call them hard, but sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes they come in a way that's out of our control, in a way that's our external world, in a way that, like, you know, partner comes in, or boss comes in, or like, you know, family life. Like it's really, they really rule experiences that are out of our control, and they're aspecting these really personal parts of our ego. You know, they're aspecting the sun, they're aspecting Mars retrograde, like our ability to move and create in the world, our ability to, like, you know, our drive to like get the things going. So that's a very sensitive place, egoically, when that gets challenged. Like, what, you know, noticing what arises for you in that space when there's these reflections of challenge, reflections of like actual stopping, of suppressing, or like making slow down. There's this huge earth elemental theme with this grand earth trine, and so it's really highlighting, I think, a lot for people, like our security, like the things that we hold dear. Like, is it our body, is it our health, is it our 401k, is it our you know, status in our community, is it our status in our work, you know, is it like our home, you know, and wherever it is kind of being rocked right now. It's like the foundations of our security systems are really needing to be liberated in a big way, but before they get liberated, before they get transformed, they break down, they get challenged, they get shaky. And so Uranus comes in with that shaking up feeling. And when it's coming up to something as sensitive and as humbling and as like fixed as Taurus, you know, coming up with all of this other earth around it to activate it even more, it's like, whoa. This is like deep held patterns of structure and of stability and security, and whatever that looks like for you, being challenged and being needed to be like, okay, let it go. Like Jupiter is in Scorpio, to be like, let it go. Let what needs to die, die. Let what needs to be released, release. Step out of the comfort zone. If you find yourself being challenged in these places, and you want to dig your heels in, like, that's the place. The stubbornness of the bull can be the place of Taurus that gets stagnant, and that's the place to like examine. You know, that's the place to be like, okay, is this a place where I need to like let go of my control? Is this a place where I need to like raise up my hands and let the like shame or whatever is tying me to this pattern like fall? Is this the place where I need to like step out and be like, okay, like kind of like the Fool card, like stepping off of the ledge and seeing, like, you know, what is there on the other side, like what materializes underneath your feet, or let yourself fall and see what happens, you know. And that's why it's powerful to pay attention to our emotions right now with the Pisces full moon, because it's like all of these things are being done and worked through, but like where we're gonna start to really feel it, and where we're gonna start to kind of have that magnifying lens of opportunity to like allow it to become magnified, so that we can let it, you know, riddle out of us, that we can let it like really shake us and move us, is where are we triggered emotionally? Like, where is it inside of all these things that's going on that's like really touching some deep places in our emotions? Like, those are the places that are ready to be, you know, first revealed, first felt, and then ultimately like transformed and moved through, you know. So it's not a time of like pushing away the emotions. It's not a time of like putting masks on and You know, this is a time of really evaluating that and allowing those emotions not to get the best of us, not to become, you know, these victims and these you know, because Pisces can really give us this fogginess and this disillusionment and this feeling of lostness, you know. And so that's why all this grand earth is there, to be like, okay, we have these overwhelming emotions for a reason, for this like ability to connect beyond our previous capacities to connect, to dream and imagine and ultimately create and manifest beyond what we previously thought, what we were previously allowed to even conceive of. You know, that's the potency of the Piscean full moon. So now is a time to really allow that potency of our emotions, that power that is the subconscious world, that does rule a lot of what we got going on the surface, of what we end up doing, you know, how we move in the world and how we interrelate and how we don't. You know, all of that is really being fueled by the deep waters of that. And so it's time to like become, you know, masterful, like alchemists with our own emotions, with our own bodies, and with bringing in that earth, with bringing in that ability to ground and manifest and to create structures for which it's meant to come and flow through. This is a really potent time to feel these emotions, but not to get swept away by them. Don't drown in these pains, these pain bodies, and these separated parts of yourself. You know, really allow yourself, really step up that container holder, really step up that ability to like be the observer and to be the like space holder and the part of you that invites people to that gate, you know, that invites people to the gate and then finds a way to open it, you know, finds a way to have boundaries, but is also like permeable, you know, instead of these walls and instead of these sabotages that like disconnect and destroy relationships. So one last transit I really want to speak to is the powerful square happening between Venus and Pluto. So whenever Pluto comes up with anything, it's intense, it's God of the underworld, it's like deep soul desires being kind of like alchemized in a fire, you know, to be transmuted and transformed. And so when it touches a planet as beautiful and dear to my heart as Venus, like it's something that touches our worth and our value. It's something that touches our home and our relationships. You know, Venus really rules that part of us. It's just been so bright and beautiful in the sky, and it's in Libra. Like, it's just like, I want justice, I want harmony, like I want like these creative and interdependent relationships in my life. Like I want to collaborate. I want to be fed by you and you to be fed by me. And like Libra is this really beautiful harmonizing and balancing inside of relationship archetype. And with Pluto there, it's like in Capricorn, which also rules this dynamic of relationships of power and structures and responsibility. And these are squaring one another. And this is meaning that Venus is in some way needing to like let something go. It's needing to really transform something and allow something inside of relationships, is allowing something inside of who you are inside of relationships to be transformed. Fucking God of the underworld. And so this is a time of like seeing our places where we're not interdependent or not collaborative, but we lose ourself inside of relationships, where the balance is off, where the power dynamics inside of relationships is needing to really be worked on. So this, on a larger scale, is probably going to be feeling those places inside of our own society where privilege and power and relationship dynamics are held in an unhealthy way. And yet this is a time to shine that light on like, is it really, you know, sometimes Libra can just be pretty and it can just look good, and yeah, we're a happy family, and oh, we're happy, and oh, yes, I just care about you, and this is, oh, it makes me so happy here, give, 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 give. And deep down it's like, I hate you, or I'm losing myself to you. You know, it's like, this is a time of being like, okay, where's that pillar inside of ourselves? Like, where are we gonna like wash off the makeup and make sure that it really looks good under the surface, that it really feels good and feeding and nourishing on all levels, and not just the surface, and not just superficial harmony, and not just superficial beauty and balance. And so this is potentially a sensitive and vulnerable time, because anytime it touches relationships, it's intense. Really beautiful way of like being able to see the places where relationship dynamics can be refined, and also again having that, like tapping into that Venusian heart of like, I ultimately want to open, I ultimately want to find harmony and create with you, and you know, find these ways in which both people are fed inside of relationships, or inside of work dynamics, like really inside of home dynamics. You know, again, like places of our security might really be rocked over this week, and it's a time of not going into that fear mentality, and not going into like, it's always gonna happen to me, but like take it and be like, okay, like if I'm getting kicked out of my home, like thank you, something else is on its way. Deal with the emotions that arise, but don't get lost in them. Again, the energy it's been really stuck. Don't get super frustrated with yourself if you haven't created those things that you've been working on. We've had 7 planets in retrograde, so like be gentle with yourself. They are stationing direct and starting to move forward. On the full moon, it will be the last day of Mars in retrograde, and so after that full moon we get a surge of like starting it takes a little while to start going, but it's gonna start moving forward. And same with Saturn. So this is a time of starting to actualize those things in our life that we've been, you know, potentially on the back burner, or needing to like go back and not fully like going, you know. And so don't get too frustrated. Don't give way to blaming yourself, or whatever it is that the ego wants to do when it hits those roadblocks and those speed bumps. And so this is a time of allowing it to gradually build, and make sure that you're releasing the things that you've been asked to over the course of this retrograde, because it's a time when that energy starts to be moving, that you want to have it really freed to move in the channel and in the direction that it's ultimately serving you, that is ultimately serving your highest, you know. So blessings on this full moon in Pisces. May you find the channel and the muse in which you can tap into that deep, imaginative, watery realm inside of you, and use that energy as something potent to fuel your life. And maybe you actualize into that grand earth trine that can really allow you to reform the structures in your worthiness and your value system into something that works for you.
Yeah,